The movie begins with Gwen in a telephone booth, 4 years after the incident with the grabber. It happened that she was communicating with a dead spirit using her psychic abilities. Before she could get any useful information about her most recent dream, the spirit hanged up on her. Almost immediately, she headed back inside extremely terrified. In North Denver 1982, a group of students gathered to watch Finney beat up a boy. Gwen tried to stop him, but it was no use. After these events, Gwen pleaded with Finn not to beat up boys who make jokes about him and the grabber, but Finn was adamant, insisting that's his way of dealing with the trauma. Ernesto, Robin's brother, drove by inviting them for an event later that evening. Gwen accepted his proposal and promised to show up, also with a big grin on her face which suggests she kinda likes him. Back at home, Finn stepped out to get some fresh air, only for ugly memories of him and the grabber to flood his mind. He started doing drugs as a means to deal with trauma. He could even see the grabber right in front of him, but it was only a projection of his thoughts. Elsewhere, a group of children went on a vacation to the Alpine Lake, only for an armed man to start chasing one of the kids with a knife and ends up killing the child in a grotesque way. After the boy died, he left engraved a message for Gwen under the ice, in the exact place he was murdered and buried. Gwen woke up almost immediately, wondering what it is the spirits are trying to tell her this time around. The telephone in the living room started ringing suddenly, and just when she was about to reach for it, she realized the ringing wasn't coming her house. Finn was the one who pulled her out of this trance-like state, and as he took her inside, Gwen finally told him about the horrible dream she had. Finn, though, shrugged it off like it was nothing. In school the next day, some girls made fun of Gwen calling her a witch, but Ernesto kept her distracted. He gave her the movie tickets for their date. He was one of the only few people who believed she actually had psychic abilities. The accessories he gave her were like a conduit people like her could use to see spiritual things, and this made her interested in him even more than she already is. Later that day, Finn grabbed something from a store, only for the telephone outside to start ringing immediately he came out. Courageously, Finn picked the call, but he instantly told the person he can't help and hung up the phone. Unbeknownst to him, the telephone was out of order, so it shouldn't have rang in the first place. Elsewhere, lots of children were played in the snow, after which they gathered together for a bonfire in the night. One of the boys there went out to ease himself, and that happened to be the last walk he ever took. The grabber axed him mercilessly without remorse, then burned the remains of the boy's body. The same boy later rose up from under the ice, and also left a message for Gwen just like the previous boy. Gwen stormed awake the moment he finished writing, still hearing the telephone ringing outside. This time she actually stepped out to know where it was coming from, but instead of the phone, she saw the boy's burnt dead body laying just right in front of her. She decided to sneak into the grabber's house, just so she could be able to answer the telephone. On picking up the call, one of the dead boys named Hope Andler told her about his experience at Alpine Lake, revealing the grabber is still alive hiding somewhere deep in the mountains. The connection broke, and she couldn't hear what he was saying any longer, but on turning back, she was petrified to see the grabber's dead brother standing right in front of her. Not long after, the door behind them creaked open, and then someone started slowly approaching them from the stairs. The telephone started ringing violently, then the scene then shifts all of a sudden. Gwen is now with her brother Finn, who explained she was sleepwalking, so he followed her. Gwen was still in a discombobulated state, as all these recent events made her feel she's going crazy. They noticed the telephone was no longer there. Then Gwen revealed to Finn that she spoke to their mom on the phone before the scene shifted. Finn shrugged it off again as he didn't want to believe. On their way out, Finn noticed a strange encryption written on the wall. Gwen also noticed that some of the things that happened in her dream manifested real life. She gave Finn a youth camp outline, insisting they need to go there, but Finn was adamant on not involving himself with anything concerning the grabber again. Their dad soon joined in on the conversation, and he revealed that their mom once took a job there before he met her. Gwen wanted to tell him of the dream, but Finn stopped her from doing so. Finn eventually agreed to take a job there, and after packing, they all headed out at once. The fog from the snow covered Ernesto's sight, so Finn asked him to stop the car so he can step out to see it. He'll be able to see the road. They soon arrived at a particular settlement, and after coming down, they followed the man inside. On their way, the man told them the camp was canceled due to the extreme weather, and it's only the three of them that were fortunate enough to make it this far. Finn spotted a telephone booth nearby, making him extremely petrified. They successfully made it into the house, and the man gave them each their space where they'll be staying. Ernesto couldn't stay there with them because he's not a registered counselor, so he headed over to his own cabin across the road. Gwen kept on having nightmares about the dead children, just that this time, she saw herself there standing over the ice. Meanwhile, Finn stepped outside to take a smoke, only to hear the telephone across the road ringing. Not wasting time, Finn boldly walked there, but the lights went out right before he reached the booth. Gwen woke up at the same time the lights went out, then the telephone started ringing again. Finn told the ghosts he can't help them, then the lights went out again. Meanwhile, Gwen started hearing strange sounds underneath a bed, so she went closer to check it out, only to see a dead body under there. Finn discovered it was the grabber on phone, but it was already too late as the booth door locked itself. Finn couldn't take the intense trauma, while Gwen on the other hand had her own share of problems to deal with. All the dead boys walked toward her angrily, whilst the grabber told Finn there's no escaping this time around. All the things happening around Gwen made her slowly want to lose her mind, but then the booth unlocked. Finn woke Gwen up from her psychic state and comforted her, hiding his own insecurities to make her feel safe. The two of them headed to the other cabin, as theirs was no longer safe. Gwen told Ernesto about her terrifying nightmare, so he suggested she lays with him for the night. They were all relieved they made it to the next day. As they were having a heated argument on why Gwen would reveal everything that has been happening to Ernesto, they noticed that the injuries she sustained in her dream manifested in real life. Organizers soon called them in for breakfast. As they were eating, he introduced them to his niece Mustang, who Finn instantly got attracted to. According to Armando, there were only 4 staffs left in Alpine Lake, and after 2 days, they'll all go home together. Armando then inquired why they actually came here, because they've never attended this particular camp before, so they told him it's their mother that led them here. Gwen further showed him her picture to see if he'll remember, only for him to break down as memories of her flooded his mind. He told them he knew her very well, and she was a true light. Armando told him to meet him outside when they were done, but Finn stopped him to ask about the payphone, only to discover it's always been broken. Finn told him about his experience at the booth last night, then all of a sudden, the telephone started ringing again. Finn told him to call for backup while he checks it out. This time he was ready for anything the grabber had to say, but it instead happened to be one of the dead boys on the phone. Unbeknownst to Finn, all the dead boys were right there in front of him, then they started banging hard on the glass, begging him to help them. Back at home, Terrence watched the news about the bad weather over in Alpine Lake, so he decided to call and confirm his children were safe. It was nighttime already. While Gwen was sleeping, she had a dream of her mother in the telephone booth. One of the dead kids told her she isn't supposed to be here and ran away, so she chased after him to get more information. She kept following each dead boy she saw, till it eventually led her to where the grabber murdered them. On waking up, she sighted a strange woman in white standing at the door, then the telephone booth outside started ringing again. Gwen followed one of the dead boys again inside the forest, while Finn and Ernesto pondered on whether they should pick up or not. Ernesto went back inside to look after Gwen, while Finn proceeded to the booth in his lonesome. It happened that the grabber was purposely separating them, by making them face each monsters of their own. Finn picked up the call and shut the door, claiming within him he's not scared of the grabber. Through the phone, the grabber told him he can't get rid of him that easily, and all he wants is for the game to continue. Gwen, on the other hand, was in the dining room, still following the boy ghost leading her. While Ernesto was looking for Gwen, he woke the 4 other people in Alpine Lake up, then he informed them Gwen mysteriously went missing. Elsewhere, Gwen was led into a storage room, and the moment she got there, everything around her started going crazy, but the others were fortunate enough to hear the rumblings. It happened that the grabber was right there in the storage room with Gwen. Gwen tried her best to stop him from killing her, but the grabber was just too strong to handle. The others rushed in almost immediately, but they could see only Gwen being moved around by a supernatural force. Hearing Gwen scream, Finn rushed over there to help her. The grabber forcefully tried to put her in the burner, but Ernesto held on to her tightly. The others tried to assist also, but they were attacked by rioting utensils. Immediately Finn arrived at the scene, the grabber then let go as if that's exactly what he wanted. After this horrific incident, they all headed to the church to take refuge there. Armando pondered deeply on what their next course of action should be. Gwen then told him of the engraved letters the dead boys wrote for her. It was at this particular moment, Armando unearthed Finn and Gwen were the legendary heroes that once killed the grabber. Armando showed them the photo album of the previous set that came down here, and in this moment of truth, Finn noticed the grabber was one of the youths who came here then. Armando recognized him as Wild Bill Highcock, WBH. Gwen then figured it was him named the dead boys wrote on the ice, insisting this is the first place he started, and those boys were his first kills. So immediately Finn killed him. His spirit returned back to Alpine Lake, getting his powers from the restlessness of the dead kids. Gwen told him exactly where the bodies are, insisting if they can find the boys and put them to rest finally, this whole nightmarish saga would be over, so Armando agreed they head over there by dawn. While Armando was in his office in his lonesome, he started hearing strange noises, so he picked up the phone to hear better. The lights went out all of a sudden, and when he turned on the torch, he saw the grabber's face bloody, drawing on the window. The next morning, they all headed out into the forest to commence their search. They made sure to sweep through the entire lake, and night soon approached them. Back at the cabin, Gwen was having her usual nightmares, just that this time her mom also had a nightmare in her nightmare. Hope woke up disturbed, and Gwen tried standing up too, but Ernesto held her back and laid her back to sleep. Unbeknownst to him, her spirit has already left her body, and was now in Hope's reality. She saw her mom leave the room with sheets, and on following her, she saw that it was the grabber's house Hope drove to. Hope peeped beneath the window and saw the child the grabber kidnapped, but before she could call for help, the grabber forcefully pushed her inside his van. A few minutes later, the grabber came back outside, looking at Gwen in a very angry way. He gave her an invitation to come save her mom, and she headed towards there without giving it a second thought. As she entered, the grabber followed and locked the door behind them. Right there inside the bus was the 2 different generations of the grabbers, and also the psychics who could see them. They finally got to their destination on short notice, but the place left Gwen in utter shock, as that was the exact place the grabber killed her, And all these while they thought she was the one that committed suicide. Gwen watched in sorrow how pained Terrence was when he saw her dead body. The grabber then brought out his axe. He gave Gwen a head start before chasing after her. She found herself in the grabber's basement, so she rushed to answer the telephone ringing loudly, and her mom told her to hide immediately. Gwen then ran to the other side of the basement and hid there. The grabber, with his belt and axe, slowly walked towards Gwen, so she ran again. This time there was no longer anywhere to run to. The grabber axed her, and the injuries manifested in real time. Ernesto noticed and tried to wake her up, but she was locked in the trance-like state. Fortunately, one of the dead boys opened the freezer from the other side, and she found herself standing on top of a frozen lake. There she saw Armando trying to melt the ice with fire, so it'll be easier to find the dead boys, and he eventually did. As they were trying to get Gwen to wake up, she started hearing the broken telephone outside ringing. It was the grabber on the phone, and as kept Gwen distracted with his conversation, he also joined Armando in digging the ice, but for a different reason though. It was already too late when Gwen figured what was going on, as Armando plunged deep into the frozen lake. The grabber still used his feet to assure Armando had zero chances of survival. Afterwards, the grabber shattered the glass on the telephone booth and forcefully tried strangling her with a phone wire. He further twisted it so hard that it just kept on cutting her till she finally fell. They tried their best to get her to wake up on the other side, pressuring her to fight back by all means. Almost immediately, she exploded the booth with her psychic powers, after which, she stood up and walked boldly towards him in rage. She head-booted him, then melted him with her powers and woke up instantly. They all rushed back outside to help Armando, and they were fortunate to still meet him alive, which was a great relief to them. A few minutes later, their dad arrived at Alpine Lake with a truck to clear the snow, to enable him to take his children home safe. Finn was happy her gets to home now, but Gwen insisted their work here isn't done yet, so they still need to stay. Gwen revealed to them their mom didn't kill herself, rather it was the grabber who murdered her, and staged it to seem like she committed suicide. Terrence, after all these years, finally believed Gwen, as she told him the exact reaction he had when he saw his wife's dead body. The next morning, all of them searched the lake thoroughly, as the only way to take away the grabber's powers was by finding his victims' bodies. Their search prolonged till night, and they couldn't still find anything. On spur of moment, Gwen drifted into sleep again. Her subconscious left her body, and she could see them trying to wake her up. Unbeknownst to them all, the grabber was skating towards them in full speed. Kenneth was the first one the grabber killed, while Gwen went underwater and started pushing the kids' dead bodies up. The grabber finally had Finn in the exact position that led to his death previously. Terrence also dived into the lake, so he can rescue the kids. Finn managed to push the grabber away from him, and this way possible because they recovered the body of one of the dead boys. The grabber still didn't want to give up, and as he tried to attack one last time, the remaining 2 dead boys held him from underneath the lake. Before you knew it, the 3 dead boys were standing in front of him, then Gwen mercilessly axed his head. She then proceeded to take off his mask, after which Finn slammed his head into the ice till his face was totally shattered. Gwen further cut off his leg so he couldn't swim, then they threw him inside the water. The dead boys pulled him farther deeper, while Gwen and Finn stood over him watching, finally relieved they've killed the grabber for good. After this incident, Gwen's spirit returned back into her body, and she kissed Armando for the first time. As they were about leaving Alpine Lake, the telephone rang again, which was surprising. Gwen boldly went inside and picked it up, only to discover it was Hope Andler, her mother. The movie then came to an end. Kindly subscribe for more horror movie recap like this. Thanks for watching and goodbye.